Once upon a time, my story begins in the warm month of late July. I believe it was July 20th. It was the very first day of our holiday. On a scorching July day, I stood under the warm sun and gazed out at the sparkling sea. It was 11 a.m. I was on the boat in Portsmouth with my mum, dad, and sister Louise. Seabirds frolicked around our enormous boat and the little boats nearby on the sea. I began to observe the individuals accompanying us on our boat. They all gazed at the seabirds and chatted and giggled. Everyone was filled with joy on the very first day of their vacation, and suddenly, there he was. This tall, quiet boy in a blue and white shirt. Handsome. I'll never forget the first time I laid eyes on Wow. He's adorable. Hey, check this out! He didn't notice me at that time. He was hanging out with some buddies. One of the boys seemed to be his brother. They had matching blue eyes, a similar mouth and nose, and almost identical hair. His brother and one of the boys with him attempted to catch the seabirds, and he grinned at them. Then they came over, stood next to us, and chatted about the little boats on the sea. I kept a close eye on him above Louise's head the whole time. His brother and his friends were quite loud, but he preferred to stay quiet and didn't talk much. Then, all of a sudden, he glanced in my direction, and his gaze settled gently upon me, and he flashed his beautiful smile, his bashful blue eyes twinkling. Everything around me on the boat came to a sudden halt. The people, the sun, the sea, the birds, the noise of his friends. Time stood still. Right then, it was just the two of us, him and me, having a little adventure together. He and his smile are just for me. Just the two of us. The boat drifted away slowly, gliding across the sparkling water toward the enchanting land of Spain. Sailing from Portsmouth to Santander in Spain is a fun adventure. You'll spend a whole day and night on the boat, enjoying the journey and all the exciting things you'll see. One day and one night spent together, sailing on the same boat with him. We'll be on this boat for a whole day and night. Maybe I can have a chat with him before we get there. Maybe I'll get to see him again later tonight. It was a cool boat with cafes, shops, a cinema, and a disco. In the evening, Louise and I went to the disco together. We enjoyed a refreshing Coke while we listened to the lively music and watched the talented dancers. However, he was not present. Then all of a sudden, a tall boy in a black and white shirt burst into the room. It was him. He was hanging out with a buddy. They paused and gazed around at all the people in the disco. It was dark there, and he stood and looked for a long time. Oh no, someone is trying to find me. Oh wow, he's excited to see me. Then he noticed me and greeted me with a warm, welcoming smile. I wanted to jump up and sing and dance with him. He walked over to our table and stood there. Then he surprised me by asking me to dance. All of a sudden, he became friendly with me. We had an enjoyable time dancing together for a long time after that. Would you like to dance? But then I looked up and saw another tall boy in a blue and white shirt at the door of the disco, with the same eyes, the same mouth, and nearly the same hair. However, the boy near the door had a gentle and reserved expression, rather than a wide and welcoming grin. Suddenly, it hit me. The person dancing with me was his brother, not him. I was with the other brother. He stood by the door momentarily, watching me and his brother on the dance floor, with a hint of sadness in his eyes. I wanted to rush over to him, to hold his sorrowful expression and apologize gently. He glanced in my direction before swiftly darting out. I stopped dancing, made my way back to my table, and took a seat. His brother began to dance with Louise, having a jolly good time. I couldn't fall asleep that night. I couldn't stop thinking about him and paid close attention to the sounds of the boat and the sea. My sister and I headed to the cafe early in the morning at 8 o'clock. We patiently waited there for quite a while. I wanted to apologize to him. I had 4 cups of coffee, and I'm not a fan of coffee, but he never showed up. Where was he? Where was he? We reached Santander at 11 o'clock. I wanted to stop the boat. I wanted to stop the holiday. I wanted to go back to England. I just wanted to see him again, chat with him, and find out his name. But he wasn't there. Mark's story. I began learning Spanish at school in September, and I enjoyed it. We have an excellent teacher named Old Webb. Mr. Webb, not Old Webb, my mother always reminds me. He's not old, you know. Mr. Webb, a teacher at our school, always takes a group of students to a beautiful place in Spain for the first 2 weeks of the holidays every July. Old Webb is pretty cool. That's impressive, coming from a teacher. We were at Portsmouth with Old Webb. Sorry, Mr. Webb. And Mrs. Webb. She's from Argentina. All the boys find her very attractive too. There were 6 of us with the Webbs. Harry Potts and his sister Sonia. Nick Atkins. He's a good friend. Sue Bellamy. She's clever. My brother Dave and me. We're 14 and we're good friends too. Usually. There were so many people on the boat. The sun was shining brightly, making it a beautiful day. People gazed out at sea, marveling at the sight of the small boats. I loved basking in the warm sunshine and daydreaming about the amazing 2 weeks I spent on vacation in Spain. Old Webb began one of his tales about Argentina, but I didn't pay attention. I started to observe the individuals, and there was this girl standing next to me who was pretty with beautiful brown eyes and black hair. Yum, she's friendly, and she's staring right at me. I tend to be reserved, and I feel nervous around girls. I didn't speak to her then, but I observed her spending time with her sister, mother, and father. Then they walked away, and she gave me a friendly smile before they left. My brother Dave spotted her and chuckled softly at my blushing face. Hello there, she's grinning at you. And you're blushing. You have a crush? Hey there, you have a crush! I wanted to see her again. Maybe at the cafe during lunchtime, or maybe at the cinema in the afternoon. However, she wasn't present, and I can't recall the movie. In the evening, we enjoyed a refreshing beverage with Old Webb and lovely Lucrezia, what we like to call Mrs. Webb. Later, Dave and Harry decided to go to the disco because they were hoping to make new friends. I wasn't a dancing fan, but went to the disco later. I wanted to see her again. The girl with the beautiful brown eyes that sparkled when she danced, and her smile that could light up a room. It was dark in the disco, and I stood near the door and watched the dancers. And guess what? I spotted her on the dance floor, but to my surprise, she was with Dave. With my awesome brother Dave, she beamed at him, a beautiful smile. I didn't want to watch, so I decided to leave. I went to the sea and pondered in peaceful silence. I couldn't help but think about her and also about Dave. Uh-oh! She's hanging out with Dave! I woke up bright and early. Before 6 o'clock, I went out again and saw the beautiful sunrise and the sparkling ocean. There was just one elderly gentleman and the seabirds keeping me company. The elderly gentleman gave me a warm smile, but we didn't converse. I enjoyed being quiet. I went inside and had a yummy coffee in the cafe, but wasn't in the mood for any food. I always wanted to see her. I hoped she would stroll into the restaurant, spot my table and join me. I wanted her to introduce herself and engage in conversation with me, but she never showed up. I kept waiting and waiting, but she never showed up. The town story. Bramley is a charming little town, just 50 kilometers away from Santander. Close to the beautiful sea, you'll find peaceful streets, lined with lovely old buildings, and a cozy little square in the town. In the square, you'll find adorable little shops and cafes, nestled under the shade of the trees. It's the perfect place to relax and enjoy a snack. Many people from Madrid visit Bramley for their vacations, and many visitors from England choose to stay in the town. In the evenings during the summer months, people love strolling through the charming streets of Bramley. They gather in the square and chat, while their little ones play, read their newspapers, or converse. Let's have fun and play together. Some people sit at the cafe tables, sipping their drinks and observing their surroundings. The evening after the boat arrived in Santander from Portsmouth, it was a fun-filled night in Bramley. There were so many people in the square. Some were from Bramley and Madrid in Spain, while others came from England, France, Germany, and Holland. It was a diverse crowd. Some of the English families from the boat were there now. In Bramley, for a night or two, Donna enjoyed a lovely day with her family, sitting at a table shaded by trees. She was so focused on the dancers, but didn't notice them. The music was playing, but she was utterly lost in her world. She had no interest in looking, listening, or dancing. She didn't want to be there. She just wanted to glimpse the charming, bashful boy from the boat. Maybe even share a dance with him. I want to see him again. Perhaps even dance with him. First, Mr. and Mrs. Webb were excited to go to a small, cozy place near the beach they always loved because of its delicious fish. They were excited to have a fun time on their first evening in Spain. And later there was a disco in the square at Bramley. Hey, how about we grab a bite at one of the cool spots by the beach? Then we can go to the fun party in the square at Bramley. Is that all right?
Yay!
Exactly. Mark didn't want to go. He had no interest in eating, dancing, or engaging in conversation and laughter. He tried to sit quietly and think about the beautiful girl on the boat. Where is she right now? But Dave, Harry, Nick, and Sue were all eager for him to go. Later that evening, he strolled into the square at Bramley with his buddies. They discovered a table at one of the cafes and happily took their seats. Mark glanced around at the people sitting at the nearby tables. Donna gazed sadly at the people dancing and standing in the square until their eyes locked. Everything came to a halt. Guess what?
He was here.
Guess what?
She was here.
He grinned at her with his friendly blue eyes. She smiled back at him with her deep, chocolate-colored eyes. All of a sudden, he wasn't shy anymore. He got up and began to walk over to her. She was standing. They reached out and touched each other's hands. She really, really wanted to dance right now. But only with him. The others watched and grinned. They all knew. What about Dave? Dave watched with a big smile on his face. Only Dave was the one who truly understood the story. Only Dave had a secret plan for his brother, and Donna and Mark began to dance. Twirling and spinning with joy, they were all hanging out together.
Don't forget to like and done in the comment.